Hi, my name is Curtis Johnson. I'm going to be your presenter this evening. We're going to discuss the need for childcare centers at Blackhawk Technical College facilities. These are my guests this evening, as well as my wife Maya. So let's start this out. I'm going to start with asking you guys a question. Have any of you ever had to miss school or work because you didn't have childcare for your student or your children?
Yes.
All right. I have too. It's pretty unfortunate. It didn't happen often. I've been pretty lucky having people at hand to watch my kids while I've attended Blackhawk Technical College. But not many students are as fortunate. Many students at BTC are younger and older students who have nobody to watch their children. Some prospective students have probably considered but decided against attending Blackhawk Technical College because of the same issue. Others may not have the financial stability to afford childcare or the convenience of getting their child to the said place. This is a big problem. BTC has many parent and students that are inconvenienced with childcare while attending classes at BTC for three main reasons. There's nobody to watch them, childcare is too expensive, and it's an inconvenience to have to travel to the childcare center and BTC facilities. Now let's take a look at the first problem, nobody to watch them. The times of the past are over, alright? With today's rising costs and crucial economy, the traditional dad works, mom stays at home doesn't apply anymore. In today's world, it takes two incomes to survive. Now imagine how hard this is to find proper child care when one or both of your parents, both of the parents, are trying to attend a post-high school education. Like my wife and I. We fall into this scenario. I'm a full-time worker, part-time student. My wife is just the opposite. She is a part-time worker, full-time student. In the 2 years we were in school at the same time, we repetitively had to call for someone week in and week out to find childcare for our children. It was a constant hassle for all parties involved. Luckily for us, we had my grandmother who was retired and my parents to help us out along the way. But not all students have the same benefit as we did. As you can see in the graph on page 1, adults don't retire until the age of 62 now. It used to be the age of 57 in the 90s, but that's gone up. And the average age of childbirth in 2014 was 28 years old. Now if you do the math, this means that most grandparents are only 56 years old and still not retired at this time. An article written by Cindy Richmeyer that I found states that providing comprehensive support services at the school site is vital to the success of today's students. Now I completely agree with this 100%. You should have student services available. You could always ask a neighbor to help you watch your children, but they're most likely going to want to get compensated for their services. Which leads me to my second problem. Childcare is too expensive, period. 4 years ago, in 2011, childcare costs were $100 a week for our daughter. Now, a recent quote that we received from the same facility in this past May was $430 a week for 3 children at the same place. That averages to be about $143 per child. Now, who can afford these prices while they're going to school? Seriously. Could you afford that?
No.
Nope.
I couldn't either.
Not me.
According to the magazine USA Today, childcare costs can be as much as $14,500 annually for an infant and $12,200 for a 4-year-old in a licensed childcare center. Most students without a high school degree barely make that each year. Like they'd be just cutting by. As shown in the graph in figure 2, students with a high school diploma or equivalent earn a median income of $31,000 per year. And students with less than a diploma earn a median income of $25,000 per year. That's not much money to be affording childcare. If my wife and I added our yearly total up for the quote we received, we'd be paying about $22,400 a year for childcare. Now, how are students going to continue their education if they can't afford these prices? This doesn't even include any travel costs or personal time spent commuting to and from the Child Care Center or Blackhawk Technical College campuses. Leads me to my third and final problem we have with these issues is the inconvenience and stress of off-site child care. It's one of the biggest burdens. Most students have personal transportation, but some of them do not. Some students have to take the bus or rely on rides from their friends or family. Now, the majority of child care centers around the community have predetermined hours, with most of them having fees up to the quarter hour for anything after or before the scheduled pickup time. This is a huge hassle while trying to make it to child care by certain times. While most people will plan for this when they get their student schedule and before the first day of class, but there are always unforeseen obstacles. Like maybe they have to pick up their child early for a doctor appointment, or they have to have their child stay late because they're running late with a class. Any of these instances. If you're out of school, but you have to wait an hour to arrive to pick up your child, you're wasting time and money. So wouldn't it be nice if BTC campuses had child care facilities where you could just walk out of the class, pick up your child at the center, and go home? Hop on the bus and go home. So I'm going to give you 4 recommendations. The first one is to develop a child care center at all BTC campuses. Second, incorporate child care costs into tuition. Third, hire child care workers. And the fourth is to integrate the child care center with the early childhood education program that BTC provides. Now, the first recommendation, child care centers at BTC campuses. Blackhawk Technical College has 5 facilities. Central Campus is its busiest and its biggest, and it has previously supported a child care center. The 4 other campuses are smaller and they require less space for child care needs. So it'd be very easy to incorporate child care centers into all these campuses and have plenty of room left over for other activities. My second recommendation, incorporate child care costs into tuition. This is a big one. Some students may disagree with this, but a slight increase in the tuition would benefit many students, and it'd give the students that do not have children a sense of self-satisfaction, knowing that they're contributing to a good cause. Because these students with children, they could really use this. Blackhawk.edu website says in 2013, 11,126 students were enrolled at Blackhawk Technical Colleges. And more students enroll every year. That's been happening since Blackhawks opened up. An increased tuition each semester by $30 to $40 per student, obviously per semester, would bring in as little as $667,000 to as much as $890,000 per year for child care expenses. It's almost $1 million in expenses, $890,000. Imagine how many students we could help of all ages with that kind of funding. My third recommendation is to hire child care workers. Obviously, you have a child care center, you're going to need some child care workers. Information from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that wages in May of 2014 for child care services had a mean annual wage of $20,270. If BTC were to hire 2 full-time workers for each of the 4 smaller campuses and 4 full-time workers for Central Campus, it would only account for $245,000 of the $600,000 to $900,000 budget we would receive from increased tuition. That leaves $400,000 to $600,000 left for other child care related expenses. Now, my fourth and final recommendation is probably one of the bigger ones. Integrate child care center and early childhood education. This is a long one, so bear with me. All right. The BTC website says, early childhood associate degree graduates will meet the state educational requirements to be a child care teacher in a licensed group early childhood center for ages 2 weeks to 10 years. Once they graduate, they could possibly have one of these jobs that we're trying to hire for to incorporate into childcare. It would be a great opportunity for students to get hands-on experience working with licensed childcare workers. Now, you don't have to follow these recommendations, but failing to do so will be felt throughout the community. Current and prospective students will continue to struggle with the hassle and financial burden of off-site childcare. Some will drop out, and future prospects may not be able to enroll due to these circumstances. So to wrap things up here, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that not all BTC students have children, but some do. It's stressful enough on them worrying about homework and getting good grades and everything else that goes into trying to maintain a high GPA, but it's harder to think about, or even possible to do, if you have to think about proper childcare, plain and simple. My final recommendation is that it would be beneficial for Blackhawk Technical College to implement on-site childcare to accommodate its current students. This would also open the door possibilities for future prospects that are looking into furthering their education. Thank you for your time. My guests are still here. All right, that's all.